Hey everyone, my name is Jake Spear, and I am here today to talk to you all about systems and the tools that we give to and use on our sales development teams to make our reps more productive and more efficient with their time. I want to give a quick shout out though to saleshacker.com as well as InsideSales.com for putting on such a quality event. I am truly honored personally to be speaking amongst a group of professionals that I look up to every single day. Many of them are mentors to me in my sales career. So kudos to everyone making this event a reality. It's just so humbling to be a part of this. Now, recently myself, I took on the role of sales development manager here at Snack Nation in beautiful sunny Los Angeles, where I lead a team of about 10, and I'm looking for more. So if you know anyone who's got the grit and sharpness to be a solid SDR, please send them my way. I will be eternally grateful. But enough about that. Some background on me and why I'm even talking to you about systems in the first place. Before I started here at Snack Nation, I ran partnerships for Sales Hacker, one of the co-presenters of this awesome virtual event we were just talking about. So since Sales Hacker is sort of a trusted advisor in the space on new tech tools and what tech tools to implement in your process, a core job responsibility of mine was to not only know what tools were available for sales teams, but where each one fit into the process and how to put together the right tech stack for any given team. So before we dive in, keep in mind, there is not a one-size-fits-all approach to any of this. Every company has their own take and spin on their sales process, and that's based on product, who they sell to, their sales cycle, and so many other factors. So what we're going to go over today are some best practices to help you narrow down some of the tools out there and make the right choices for your team. So let's dive in. First and foremost, let's be honest, there are an absurd number of tools that we can bring to our teams. I want to show you guys this graphic here that you see on my screen. This graphic is the sales technology landscape for 2017. I'm sure a lot of you have seen this. It gets cycled around on places like LinkedIn all the time. It is absolutely ridiculous how many tools are on this list. It makes your head like swim a little bit just thinking about it. The sales process has been broken down into like a million pieces, and SaaS vendors are each taking one little piece and claiming that it's their specialty. Anywhere from email tools, sales dialer, company intelligence, and they're specializing in one of these things. But the problem is that as you can see, there's 10 plus vendors for every slice of the sales process. So it's kind of a challenging place to say, where do I even start with this? Now, lucky for us today, we're only talking about sales development, so we got a little bit of a slightly smaller pool. But let's break everything down for you and assume that you have a blank canvas. You're just starting your team. You have no tech tools in place. Here's my first tip. Forget about this landscape or all the tools that you think you know. It'll make you second guess yourself over and over again and think you need something you don't actually need. So for now, don't look at that picture. So it'll come back to me. My second tip, don't speak to any vendors yet. Leave them out of the equation for now. Later down the line, they're going to play a very important role in helping you make your decision. But when starting out, vendors will muddy your thinking and planning. So push them aside for the time being. And now that you've rendered yourself as a blank slate, as blank as your tech stack is, let's knock out the basics because there's a few tools that, in my opinion, every sales development team needs no matter what. First and foremost, a CRM. I mean, this is pretty basic. Everyone needs a CRM no matter what. But that doesn't mean you need Salesforce.com. We'll delve into making the choice in a little bit, but a CRM is absolutely vital. Number two, a data tool. This is also pretty basic, but something that helps you find, contact information, phone, email, social media, that kind of stuff for your prospects so that you're more informed trying to get in touch with these people. Number 3, a contact strategy tool. This is going to make sure that the human in all of us is helped by the machine. We don't do a great job of remembering a million things at once, and that's why a tool like this can help us make sure nothing falls through the cracks. And number 4, a coaching tool so that you can better train your reps on their calls. It's hard to diagnose problems with sales calls if you have no insight into them. So in my opinion, these are all must-haves for a sales development team. You can't be successful if you're missing one of these. But once we have those 4, which a lot of you probably do, you're probably asking, okay, so there are so many other cool, shiny new tools that could make my team better. Where do those fit in? And you're right. There are plenty of other tools that a lot of sales teams will need. It's just not a one that everyone needs because it'll vary by sales team. So what your team needs might be different than mine. But how do we go about choosing those? So first things first, you absolutely have to shadow your reps. Now, you might say to me, Jake, I know what my reps are doing. I set up their process for them. I put the tech tools in place. I, outline what they're supposed to do. I know what's going on. I don't need to shadow my reps. Let me lay some truth down on you then. You have absolutely no idea what's going on with your reps if you haven't shadowed them. You'll establish the process. You'll put the tools in place. You'll tell them what to do. And then you'll find out that the reps who do this every single day are going to uncover inefficiencies and put Band-Aid solutions on things that you didn't even know were problems. So oftentimes, too, those Band-Aid solutions are detrimental to the overall data of your company. So shadow your reps, all of them. Some reps love to talk and share their solutions with others, but many others keep it to themselves. So make sure you sit down with all of them and know their individual processes so that you're better informed about what's going on your team. Number 2, take that information that you just gathered and make a list of all the parts that are broken in your sales process. Now, unfortunately, it's going to be long, and you're going to feel stupid that you didn't think of all these problems, but I promise you, you are not stupid at all. Even the best managers can only foresee so much when it comes to the broken pieces of their sales team. It's just a fact of life. So make that list so that you know everything that's broken. Third, you're going to take that list and you're going to prioritize them. And the priority of, which ones are most important for you to fix right now. For me personally, I score it by what's taking the most time out of my rep's day. And those are the ones I want to fix first. You may score differently. Just make sure that you stay consistent and come up with a clear hierarchy of problems that need to be solved. Lastly, narrow this down to your top 3 inefficiencies. Adding a software tool takes time and resources, both from you and your team. It'll never be as quick and easy as a SaaS account executive will tell you. They'll say you'll onboard for a week and your reps will be up and running full steam ahead on week 2. It's never the case. So there's only so much you can take on. The other inefficiencies will have to wait. Leave yourself to 3. So now that you have your top 3 pain points in your current process, you might think you're ready to demo a bunch of tools. If you think that, you're wrong. My current VP of Sales, Dan Salazar, taught me this very important step of the process that seems really simple, but you'd be surprised at how many managers skip out on this step. So the step is this. We need to break down the pain points into specifically what we need in each of those pain points in order to solve them. And I'll show you what we mean. Let's say we've identified a pain point as telephony. Now, in Snack Nation's case, we have in the past looked at telephony options. And I want to show you a chart that we have used in order to pick through some of the options. Now, the chart looks like this. I want to put a disclaimer out there right now. This checkbox chart here is completely arbitrary. The X's that you see involved here in no way represent the offerings of these companies. What I did is I went through and just put a bunch of like X's in boxes to show you what a sample would look like. But keep in mind that you see here that click to dial isn't marked on SalesLoft. That doesn't mean they don't have click to dial. Again, this is all arbitrary. So what we did though is we made a list of everything we needed a telephony tool to do. Maybe that's call conferencing, pre-recorded voicemail, basically everything that we wanted to get out of the tool, both in a need to have and in an ideal world. And we put it into this Excel file where we set up checkboxes. Keep in mind, one thing to remember with this strategy is to make sure all stakeholders have a chance to input what they think they need on this, because you may not think of everything yourself. So one thing to remember, if you don't make this list, you're going to demo software and get amazed at all the cool things that each vendor can do. And you'll probably pick based on whichever has the slickest sales pitch and the best salesperson, but you may miss something you really need. So start with your individual needs, lay them out in a document like this so that you can check off boxes as a salesperson at one of these companies tells you they can do something, as opposed to sort of making this graph here on the fly. All right, now, once you've made this list, it's time to find some vendors. This is where the vendors actually get involved again and are where they become truly valuable to our process. There's plenty of ways to get these vendors, but here are my top recommendations. Number one, ask for referrals. You probably have colleagues, friends, managers, mentors, and plenty of other connections of yours that have likely experienced this same pain point as you. And so if you ask for recommendations, you'd be surprised at how many that people might have for you. If you don't know anyone personally, ask a trusted group or source. Someone like Sales Hacker, for instance, or maybe the Bridge Group, they all have LinkedIn groups or a Twitter in which you can interact with people that are a part of these communities and tell them what you're looking for, and people will respond with everything and anything that they've come across with regards to this pain point. Number two, use a software review site like a G2 Crowd, maybe Trust Radius, Software Advice. There's a bunch of them out there. To me, when I look for a new restaurant to go to, I always Yelp it and hear what the community is saying. So same thing goes for sales software. You might as well take a look at what your peers are saying. Number three, you can take a look at that sales technology landscape that I showed you earlier and pick a few from a category that you're looking into if you don't get any good referrals from someone else. Number four, and this is last but not least, take a cold call. As a manager, you're probably getting hit up every single day with offers for new tools to look into. So take one of those calls, respond to one of those emails. If it seems like it might address your pain point, you might be surprised at what you might find. This list here, though, is in no way, you should only use one or two or three or four. Like, use them all. The best recommendation for a software you're going to get is when you ask for referrals, but cross-check that on G2 Crowd and ask the sales reps what else they've been seeing in the space that you're talking to. So use everything above to narrow down which tools you want to look at. Now, you got tools, you've submitted inbound leads on these companies, you've got demos lined up, you got to prepare for them though. You might think that the person who needs to prepare for a demo is the account executive on the other end of the line, but that's only half of it. You need to make sure that you're getting all the info that you need because the account executive doesn't know your specific pain points. So, number one, invite the major stakeholders in this decision. That might be your manager, that might be other managers in your organization. Anyone else who has a say in this should at least be invited so that they can choose whether or not it's worth their time to show up. Number two, invite one of your, or maybe even two of your top performers to get the user perspective. A software tool is really only as good as it is being used. I mean, if you've got the slickest, most technologically advanced, dialer on the market, but your reps don't like the user experience, then right there, the tool becomes worthless. So invite some of them to get their perspective on it. Number 3, invite your systems admin to ask the tough tech questions. I am not personally a tech person. I know a lot of my sales peers are not techie either. We may understand at a high level what some of these tech tools do, but we don't understand how they interact with each other, how they integrate, all that kind of stuff. So invite your systems administrators to come in and ask those tough questions that we don't even as managers know to ask. Number 4, come prepared with a list of questions yourself that you want to get answered. It's just, if you try to think of them on the fly, you're going to miss something. And then you got to play back and forth, phone tag with the AE, and it just becomes a mess. Number 5, record the demo. For the people maybe in number 1 who can't make it, it's helpful to have a recorded version of it so you can go back and reevaluate, what was said on these calls. Keep in mind too, when you're doing these demos, make sure someone in the room has that checkbox list open so that they can check as the demo's going on. You're going to want to fill those in as you go because you'll probably forget half of the demo or more within the day of watching it, and all the demos that you've done will mix together, and you won't be sure, who offered click the dial and who didn't. So mark those off as the demo's going on. Lastly, after the demo, plan to have a meeting with everyone who attended. You'd be amazed at the different things that people pick up, even though you're all watching the same demo. So now it's time to make our decision, and that should be a culmination of everyone's thoughts. So everyone that was in that demo should have some sort of say in what is going to happen. Obviously, in this example, we've left price out of it. We're assuming here that budget is open because I'm not going to instruct you on how to negotiate price. That's a completely separate topic in and of itself. I'll leave that up to you. But I've got a few last minute tips to go over with you before we go. 1, evaluate more than one tool at one time. I wouldn't recommend doing it with more than 3, as we talked about before, because you'll overload yourself, but you are going to be in a situation a lot of times where you have to fix a few pain points at once. So evaluate a few different tools, a few different types of tools at the same time. 2, if you're not sold on any one product, ask for trials. Most tools these days will let you trial their tool for 14 days, 30 days, 60 days. It's amazing how much time you can get on these tools before you actually purchase. Oftentimes, it's best to trial a few tools at once. Let half your team try one, let half try the other, and get their thoughts after the fact so that you can compare. Number 3, once you make your decision, make sure that you give the implementation of this as much time as you can possibly manage. A poorly implemented tool will suck the life out of your sales team, and as well as you. It'll just bring the whole team down. So spend as much time as you need to make sure that this is implemented and started on the right foot. Lastly, keep an open and consistent communication with your account manager. With this new vendor, you want to be at the forefront of any new updates that they make or any new best practices that they come up with. You as the manager can't be the expert on everything. So sometimes it's best to lean on those vendors that are helping us out and lean on their knowledge. Lean on what they've figured out is the best practice for their specific tool. Because as we talked about before, they are experts on certain parts of the sales process. So let them teach you. With that, I'll let you guys go and buy new tech tools for your sales team. That's all I got for you today. I hope this helped take some of the anxiety out of a pretty large and unwieldy process of trying to simplify what tools are right for you. I know it's complex, but hopefully this sort of breaks it down into bite-sized chunks that you can comprehend a little bit better. The last thing I'll say is remember to have fun with this process. Discovering new technology is a blast. So have a lot of fun, check out cool new software, make friends. I can't stress that enough. I want to say thank you to Sales Hacker and Inside Sales for inviting me to speak here. For all of you listening, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn or at my email, which is my name, Jake, Jake, and then the letter S as in Sam at snacknation.com. If you have questions, thoughts, comments, anything, I would love to hear your feedback or be as helpful as possible to my fellow sales development professionals. I've had a lot of mentors guide me along the way. I want to, return the favor. So thank you again to everyone, and take care. Best of luck.